everybody. Thanks for joining me for my 7th edition of Card Classes in the Mail. I really appreciate you tuning in and checking out what I'm doing with my Stampin' Up! Business. So my 7th Card Class in the Mail mixes a little bit of the old and the new. So hopefully you'll follow along. And if you did not subscribe to my class, feel free to grab your own supplies. I'm using some fun new ways of using the Designer Series paper. So grab some of the Designer Series paper that you've been hanging on to because you love it so much and put it to some use. So I'm going to point you down and around so you can see my work surface, and we'll get right to it. Okay, so I'm going to play with this angle a little bit more because I think last video I did wasn't quite right, so hopefully it didn't bother you too much. I think that's a little bit better. So these are the 3 cards that are part of the card kit. This uses the Magnolia Designer Series paper, and this ribbon is currently in the catalog as well as it was in the catalog, the prior catalog as well. So that's the first card. We have this card here. This Designer Series paper uses the Nautical Designer Series paper that was in our prior catalog. So if you were fortunate enough to pick that up, feel free to follow along to make that card. And then this card uses the Old World Designer Series paper from the current catalog. Okay, so let's get right to it. This is the packet of cards that you would receive if you subscribed to my card kits in the mail. So this is the first card. Again, this uses the paper from the Nautical Designer Series paper from the prior catalog. And all you're going to do is, this is all pretty much just assembly of the paper that's already cut for you. I have a frog in my throat today. Such a strange saying. I'm not quite sure what the origins of that are, but we'll have to Google it and find out. So it was kind of funny to see where those strange sayings came from. So again, I'm just taking the Designer Series paper and attaching it to the basic gray cardstock. I like this paper. It doesn't really this piece of the paper out of that nautical set doesn't really look that nautical, but it's kind of nice to mix it up a little bit. This smaller piece is going to go on the inside paper just to bring some of that design into the inside of the card. I really enjoyed doing the card classes in the mail because since I can't do a lot of stamping, I have to use a lot of Designer Series paper. So it forces me to use all that pretty paper that I've been secretly hoarding because it's so pretty. I don't want to use it. But it's even more fun to use it. You can always buy more. Okay, so that's the inside of the card. You can use that for anything that you want, any type of card that you want. And then this will go on the front. You're going to attach the ribbon. I should have actually done that before gluing it down to this piece. No, actually, I can go ahead and wrap it around. Yeah, I really should have glued it to the top piece before wrapping it around because it's not long enough to go all the way around that card front. So I just showed you what not to do. Okay, so this ribbon just gets tied into a knot, and you would wrap that around this Designer Series paper. I don't know if I can take this off without ruining it. Yeah, it's going to ruin that card. So you're going to go ahead and attach it to the Designer Series paper before you attach it to the cardstock. And then that just gets wrapped around. Okay, and then you also have a little die cut that I did for it that I included in the kit that you can stamp your greeting on, and that would go right on the front of that. Okay. So again, make sure you glue that ribbon onto your designer series paper before you attach it to your cardstock. Okay, and this card is the one with the Magnolia designer series paper. So you're going to start with your black cardstock, and you're going to have your pink cardstock. I believe that's petal pink. And then you're going to have your Old Olive cardstock. So the pieces from the Magnolia Suite designer series paper is going to be attached to your Old Olive cardstock. So you can put these placements any way you want. I'm just going to follow my example exactly the way I did it. And the way that I did these, made these strips, is I just cut 1-inch strips of paper and then cut them on a diagonal. And then when you place them, you want to just make sure that you have equal margins in between them. And again, you can put these in any kind of order that you want. Make sure you try turning the pieces of paper around the other way to see what the other side of the paper looks like. So you have lots of options, and this is a great technique to use for those small little strips of paper that you always seem to have left over on your designer series paper. Kind of a good way to reuse all those scraps. Okay, so you would go ahead and glue these down. I'm not going to take the time to do that on camera, but you would just glue them down. And then you're going to attach that to the, you would cut these excess pieces off on that overhang the Old Olive, and then you would glue that onto the petal pink paper. Okay, so just pretend that I did all that. Then you're going to take your ribbon, wrap it around your petal pink. Now this ribbon was actually in last year's catalog, but it's also carried over into this year's. It's a very pretty ribbon. It's just nice and airy and light, and ties really nice bows. And then you have a piece of white threading in your card kit as well. I think this is probably long enough to tie a double bow instead of just my single bow. So I'm just going to cut it in half and see if I can get a double bow out of it. Double bows are nice because it can take something like a thin, narrow thread and make it look a little bit bulkier. Give it a little bit more texture. Hopefully I can get a tiny little bow out of this. A little hard with my little fingers. If not, I can always just make it into a knot, but I think I may have got it. If this is too delicate for you to do, just feel free to make a single bow, or just, like I said, just tie it into a knot. Okay, so I would probably play around with that a little bit more to make sure it lays flat, but that's the double bow. And then you also have a white piece of paper that goes on the inside of your card. And you have a die cut image that goes on the outside with your saying. Okay, so for the third card in the kit, that is this one, and it uses the Beautiful World stamp set. This is really pretty. It makes great masculine cards. Let me see if I can get a good picture of that. You have these two world stamps, and then the great sayings, little flower or feather pen. It's just really nice, and it does come with corresponding die cuts. So you can buy this as a bundle and save 10% when you buy it as a bundle. Okay, so since I can't stamp the images for the card kits, what I did was I used the die cuts to create this whole image here. So what I did was I used this image here, and then one of the worlds and one of the circles. And I was so happy to see that Stampin' Up! Brought back the double-sided adhesive tape, because it really makes it easy to adhere some of these delicate images onto your cards. So what I did was I adhered the double-sided tape to the back of the cardstock, and then I ran it through the embossing machine to cut out the dies with the double-sided adhesive already attached to it. And it makes it so much easier to adhere those detailed dies onto your card. So what I need to do first is take off the adhesive on this world. And I'm hoping a lot of those little pieces will come out at the same time. So got some of them out. And I'll just go back and poke out these other ones. Because they have adhesive on the back of them, you can kind of grab it with your finger and just kind of pull off those extra pieces. Okay, I think that's just about it. Okay, so then I'm going to take that world die cut with the adhesive already on it and attach it to my blue circle. This blue is the actually the new In Color blue. Forget the name of it, but it's really pretty. It's kind of a soft, subtle blue. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and put glue on the back of the blue circle. Make sure my world is facing the right way. Kind of feels like the world is upside down right now, but I don't think I want my card to look that way. Okay, so again, this die already has the adhesive on it. So I'm just going to stick that right on like so. I have a nice little globe. And then you have this pretty ribbon that corresponds with that new In Color blue. First, I'm going to go ahead and attach this to, this is another designer series, the new In Color. It's the cider color. I haven't quite gotten to know all of the names yet, but you'll see what I'm talking about if you look at the catalog. Okay, now you're going to take the ribbon and just wrap it around. I'm going to start a little bit on an angle and bring it straight over on the back, and then bring it back up on an angle. So you create a nice little design with the ribbon on the front of the card. Just going to turn it over and tape it in place. Okay, so then I also use, this is the Old World embossing folder. This is one of my favorites. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. Gives you this really nice textured paper. It's almost like a handmade paper, but it's just really gorgeous. And of course you can put any color paper you want through that folder and get that result. It's also really pretty if you put it through the folder and then rub your ink pad over it to bring out some of that, bring out the coloring if you're embossed a lighter color piece of paper. So you can get some great effects with it. I really love it. Okay, and then you're just going to take this front image that we just made, attach it on top. Like so. This is a great masculine card. I really like it. Whoops, didn't stick. That embossing is so detailed that it takes a little bit longer for it to adhere. you might want to use a stronger tape or something, or just let your glue dry a little bit longer. And then I have created a die cut, or it was actually a punched image. It was from this punch. I used that in the last card class. You can see how I use that to create different size punched images for scenes. So you just stamp the happy birthday, cut that down to size, and attach it to the front of your card. And on the inside, just let's celebrate you, and then a little image of a compass. I really like these large words. It just really fills up the card really nice. Okay, so those are the 3 cards that I have for you. I hope you enjoyed that card class in the mail. Sorry about that. I might have to be doing this for another month based on the increase in coronavirus cases in Santa Barbara, and taking into consideration my own health issues. So you may see me again soon. Okay, in the meantime, take care and have fun stamping. Bye-bye.